Welcome to Gansu Province. You are standing in front of a multi-billion-dollar architectural masterpiece. It has 12 platforms, gleaming glass facades, and enough capacity to handle thousands of people every hour. But there's a problem. The station is empty. There are no commuters, no coffee shops, no taxis waiting outside. Only 2 trains stop here per day, and most of the time, nobody gets off. This is a ghost station. It was built under the promise of rural revitalization, a way to connect the poor Chinese interior to the wealthy coast. But instead, it has become a monument to a financial nightmare. China has built the most advanced transport network in human history. 45,000 kilometers of high-speed track. That is enough to circle the entire planet with room to spare. But while the trains are getting faster, the math is getting uglier. The network is currently sitting on 6 trillion RMB of debt. That is 900 billion US dollars. To put that in perspective, that is roughly 5% of China's entire GDP. For years, the world watched in awe as China built at a speed that seemed impossible. But in 2026, the Great Acceleration has hit a sovereign debt wall. The government is now forced to perform a high-stakes debt swap just to keep the lights on. How did a genius strategic move in 2008 turn into a debt bomb in 2026? To understand the trap, you have to meet the man who started it all. A man who went from the father of high-speed rail to a prisoner in a high-security cell. Meet Liu Zhijun. In the early 2000s, Liu was the Minister of Railways. He wasn't just a bureaucrat, he was a fanatic. He believed that for China to escape the middle-income trap, it needed to delete the spatial friction between its cities. He wanted to merge dozens of separate labor markets into massive, interconnected mega-regions. His strategy was called technological leapfrogging. He used China's massive market as a weapon. He forced companies like Siemens and Kawasaki to hand over their blueprints in exchange for contracts. He was building the future at a great leap forward pace. But behind the sleek white trains, there was a shadow economy. Liu wasn't just building tracks, he was building a network of kickbacks and bribes. In 2011, the father of HSR was arrested for serious disciplinary violations. His downfall coincided with a horrific train collision in Wenzhou that punctured the myth of HSR's invincibility. Liu was sentenced to death, later commuted to life in prison. But while the man was gone, the machine he built was only getting started. And that machine had a hunger for debt that nobody could satisfy. To understand how China outpaced the entire world in under 2 decades, you have to look at the hardware. Most countries build railways on the ground, but in China, up to 90% of the high-speed lines are built on viaducts, massive, elevated bridges that stretch across the horizon. This is the elevated logic. It ensures a perfectly level track for 350 km/h speeds, and it allows them to bypass difficult terrain and expensive land acquisition. But building thousands of kilometers of bridges is supposed to take decades. China did it in years, and they did it using a machine they call the Iron Monster. Meet the SLJ 900/32. It is a 580-ton, 91-meter-long robotic predator designed for one thing: bridge erection at an industrial scale. The process is a masterpiece of prefabricated engineering. Instead of pouring concrete on-site, full-length, 32-meter girders are cast in massive factories and brought to the front lines. The Iron Monster picks up a girder, crawls across the already completed pillars, and lowers it into place with millimeter precision. It eliminates the need for scaffolding. It eliminates the need for thousands of manual laborers. It turned railway construction into a Lego set. Using this machine, China was laying several kilometers of world-class track every single day. But this technical cheat code created a dangerous incentive. Because the machine made it so easy to build, local officials stopped asking if they should build and started asking how fast they could start. Every new project meant immediate employment, massive steel orders, and a guaranteed boost to the local GDP. The Iron Monster was moving faster than the population it was supposed to serve. And it was about to drive the entire network straight into a $900 billion wall. But before we talk about the debt, we have to talk about the dream. Because for a long time, the HSR system wasn't a liability. It was a unity engine. In the early 2000s, China was essentially a collection of isolated economic islands. Traveling from the industrial hubs on the coast to the resource-rich interior took days on slow, rattling, green-skinned trains. This created a massive spatial friction that prevented the economy from reaching its full potential. The HSR didn't just move people, it deleted that friction. By building the network, China created what planners call one-day living circles. It turned the 1,300-kilometer gap between Beijing and Shanghai into a 4-hour commute at costs as low as $30. By comparison, traveling from Boston to Chicago, which is around the same distance, takes 21 hours by train, or requires a 2.5-hour flight for $100 to $300. This allowed for the flywheel effect. When coastal cities like Shenzhen became too expensive, the HSR allowed high-tech factories to move inland to places like Chengdu or Wuhan without losing their connection to global trade. It brought high-paying jobs to provinces that had been left behind for decades. Economists call this the HSR premium. Studies show that cities connected to the HSR network saw a significant boost in GDP growth compared to those without it. It also became a massive tool for social stability. By making travel fast and affordable, it allowed millions of migrant workers to return home more frequently, stitching the country together during the Lunar New Year, the largest human migration on Earth. It is also the world's most efficient green machine, drastically cutting carbon emissions by pulling millions of passengers away from domestic flights and private cars. For over a decade, it looked like the ultimate cheat code for a developing nation to become a superpower. But as the tracks reached further into the empty mountains of the West, the Unity engine started to show signs of overheating. The HSR premium was about to be overtaken by a much darker math. Most people think the biggest cost of a railway is the construction. They're wrong. The real nightmare starts the moment the first train leaves the station. It's called the electricity bill. Running a fleet of high-speed bullet trains consumes an astronomical amount of power. And there is a physics-based speed penalty that the planners can't ignore. Energy consumption is proportional to the square of the velocity. When a train jumps from 250 to 350 kilometers per hour, the electricity cost doesn't just go up, it nearly doubles. A single round trip between Beijing and Shanghai costs over 50,000 RMB in electricity alone. That is over $7,000 just to keep the lights on for one trip. Then there is the maintenance. Remember those elevated bridges? They are subject to something called differential settlement. If the ground under just one of those thousands of pillars moves by even a few centimeters, the track alignment is ruined. High-speed trains require millimeter precision. If you lose that, you lose the system. Maintaining these viaducts costs about 8% of the initial construction price every single year. Over 50 years, you will spend more on maintenance than you did building the thing. So, if the costs are this high, why not just stop building? Because of the sunk cost logic. In a state-led economy, the goal isn't just profit, it's social good and national unity. But more importantly, it's about employment. If the government stops building the massive steel, cement, and engineering companies that employ millions of people, will collapse. This is the mechanism of the infrastructure anchor. To keep the economy from sinking, they have to keep building even if the new lines are guaranteed to lose money. Only 5% of the lines in China are actually profitable. The golden corridors like Beijing to Shanghai make billions, but they are subsidizing a network that is bleeding out in the interior. By 2026, the gap has become too wide to ignore. The math has officially broken, and the Iron Giant is staring down a sovereign debt wall. By 2026, the party is officially over. The local governments that funded this expansion have hit a fiscal cliff. For years, these cities relied on a specific mechanism to hide their debt. Local government financing vehicles, LGFVs. These are shadow banking entities that borrowed trillions from state-owned banks to build tracks and stations. To pay back those loans, the cities relied on selling land to real estate developers. But in 2024 and 2025, the Chinese property market cooled significantly. The land sale revenue evaporated, but the debt remained. This is the mechanism of the regional default. If the central government does nothing, these local banks fail, and the entire Chinese economy could follow. So, in 2026, Beijing pulled the emergency brake. They launched a massive 10 trillion RMB debt swap program. The logic is simple but high stakes. The central government is taking the hidden local debt and turning it into official sovereign debt. They are issuing ultra-long special treasury bonds, effectively kicking the can decades down the road. They are moving the liability from the local level, where it threatens to trigger a banking crisis, to the central level, where it can be managed as a national security asset. It is a $900 billion bailout disguised as an administrative restructuring. The Iron Giant isn't dead, but it is being put on a strict financial diet. As we move toward the end of 2026, the strategy has shifted from volume to yield. The era of building ghost stations in the mountains is ending. Now it's about making the existing lines work harder. This is the CR450 shock. China is currently rolling out the next generation of bullet trains, designed to push commercial speeds to 400 kilometers per hour. The goal is to make the golden corridors so fast and so efficient that they completely cannibalize the domestic aviation market. Simultaneously, the China State Railway Group is looking to monetize its winners. They are taking the few profitable lines, like the Beijing-Shanghai corridor, and turning them into public companies to attract direct investment. They are using AI predictive maintenance and digital twins to slash that massive maintenance bill we talked about earlier. China's high-speed rail remains the greatest engineering achievement of the 21st century. It has connected a nation and transformed the way 1 billion people move. But it is also the world's largest sovereign debt experiment. Whether it is a genius move that escaped the middle-income trap or a debt bomb that eventually drags down a superpower is a question that time will have to answer.